coming to you from the all-new Live House in Hollywood, California.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. We're going to tell you a really inspiring story about the Rascals, from very diverse backgrounds to Grammy nominations for the second time and some wins. But first, a real quick recap of a pretty momentous NAMM for us. First of all, we had an insane panel, which we'd been telling you about, with Phineas, Louis Bell, and Alex Toomey. What were your thoughts?
I was really looking forward to that. That was going to be my the denouement for my NAMM experience.
I see.
And wasn't let down. It was great. Phineas was sharp. Louis Bell was Louis Bell. You know, he was funny, engaging, and Alex Toomey is one of our favorites. You know, so. And
Alex Toomey had a very cool Dave Herb T-shirt made up, which he wore.
That's right. That's right.
But the thing I liked was, besides all the information that was imparted, apparently we had maybe the largest crowd of any panel. The room was full, and I didn't realize until afterwards that the same number of people, which equals about 300 plus, were outside and couldn't get in because fire marshals wouldn't let them in. So they waited the whole time to get in. So that says either, I don't think it's us, maybe a little bit of us, but certainly between Alex and Louis and Phineas. So hopefully it's a good exchange for them. And we had, you know, our super cool meetup, and folks won stuff from Auto Tunes, Warm Audio, Tungo.
A lot of stuff was given away because I kept seeing people walking out, and I felt left out. I should have gotten in the giveaway. Well, everybody was leaving out a box in their hands.
They were having us sign their boxes as part of what's going on. So thanks to our sponsors and all that kind of stuff. Then, so that was Friday night. Then Saturday night, what was your thoughts about the Hall of Fame induction?
Wow. This was one of my favorite tech awards I've ever been to. The music was great, and the induction ceremony, of course, was special for us. We got the Hall of Fame honor. And probably the highlight of highlights for me, there was a young lady in a black dress singing a Joni Mitchell song, and it took me to another place. It was truly amazing. How about you?
I think it was being able to point out seminal people in the career path that were important before Pensado's Place and after Pensado's Place, including each other, but a number of other people, Virgil and Maurice White and all that other kind of stuff for me. I also think it was great to shout out the team.
Yeah, that was really good.
Talisha Tyler and Kevin and Sean and the folks who helped put it on. And I also like the fact that we let folks know that everything that has gotten us here has all been from inbounds, from people who care enough about the show to get involved and so on and so forth. So, and finally, I like the fact that somehow, some way, I was able to wind in Ed Cherney, because I think we're all still missing him dramatically in a way that, and it was interesting afterwards, the reaction on how many people, including the chairman of NAMM and so many others, came to me and said, "You made me laugh and you made me cry," and you made me, you know, so, but I also think that's kind of the Pensado ethos. So
I think so too.
I think we're there because of you, the audience. And so we just want one more time to say thank you. It's incredible, as I said in my speech, that you take all those one-name people, Quincy and Al and the Phils and Ed Cherney and so on and so forth, and you add the one names of Dave and Herb to that, Arif Mard, you know, so many incredible one-name people. And now our name's in there too. Well, that's really because of you. So, NAMM was momentous, to say the least.
Yeah, I liked it.
Lots of information coming in 2020. And if you want to know about it, sign up for our newsletter. Like, subscribe, and click notify right here. Follow us on all our social platforms, at Pensado's Place, at Herb Charwick, at Dave Pensado. And we'll get information to you. Without further ado, now I call you the Young Rascals, even though it's really the Rascals. The story and background of fully developed people coming together to make great music, that's what this story is about. So we're happy to welcome to the desk Leon Thomas III and Chris Riddick Tynes, the Rascals. What's happening, man?
How you doing, my brother?
Good. All right, so here's what's crazy.
Good to see you.
Before we get into the musical part. Musical theater for you and so on and so forth. In law school for you, continuing, 1 year left.
Yeah.
Mentorship and so on and so forth. Here's what I like about that. A lot of times people feel like if you're just not focused on one thing, you won't get there. I happen to believe the more developed you are, the more you can bring to the creative process. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about it.
Well, I mean, you know, for me, I definitely wear a lot of different hats coming from the acting space and, you know, coming up on Broadway and working with people like Allie Willis, and Color Purple,
oh my
you know,
God,
I mean, God rest his soul.
Yeah,
you know, really great songwriters for me. Just seeing songs come together during that process definitely inspired me moving forward.
Yeah,
my parents are also songwriters, so
incredible.
You know, seeing that definitely always gave me the idea that residual income was definitely very important. You know, the second I could figure it out. You know, I always knew that it was going to be one of the hats that I wore.
Was Lion King the first thing on Broadway?
Lion King was my first Broadway play, and then I went into Carolina Change a year later, and then Color Purple.
That's the same
3 Broadway
time
plays.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was really just a wild experience to kind of, you know, take that stage 8 shows a week. It kind of groomed me for everything I ended up doing moving forward after that.
When I was involved in it, I want to get to in a second, the discipline of it, the rehearsal of it, the preview process. I have never had, it's as powerful a creative experience as I've ever had on anything else. And I was surprised at how much, I was emotional when I left. Like I didn't, because you get tight with the cast, it becomes a family.
Yeah,
right?
It's a family. I mean, 8 shows a week, that's no joke. And in previews, you'll learn a song for 2-3 months. And then in a day, that'll change.
And
so you
got to put it up the next day.
Put it up the next day and I perform in front of the strangers.
So now law school, is that so you can sue whoever, nobody's going to mess with the rascals?
No, not at all.
Get a break, come on.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I think it just kind of, just to piggyback off of what he was saying, I think it's just important to have, you know, to be a Swiss Army knife, right? To be able to, you know, navigate any kind of situation that comes your way. You know, we're not just doing music. Like he's in film,
right?
You know, so we're going to be getting into movie production, and TV production, and obviously we have our music production company and our writing and publishing companies and all those things. So I think it's just super important to be able to like navigate that field. You know, law is something that's common in all of it. You know,
we call it hybridism because on the creative side, guys like yourself and Dave and everybody else, sometimes it's a continuation of the process. You're a bit of a songwriter, you're a bit of an engineer, you're a bit of a producer, you're a bit of a mixer, and everybody's doing that, and you're continuing on some almost sequence. And I think if you add business stuff to it, which is what I try to do in my career, was really about being left brain, right brain. David Geffen was my guy. Like, he could run a studio and find Joni Mitchell. You know, like, and I think all of us that are that way, like the creative side better, or at least I do. But having that other thing, you can arm up. You can bow up if you need to be. So,
and that's kind of how we work, right? Like we're self-contained, right? So we don't need engineers. We engineer our own stuff.
Well, bite your tongue.
Well, I mean,
don't need all engineers.
We don't need all engineers.
All right,
you know,
David is good night. Tip your waitress. Don't forget. Right safe.
You know, but you know, I mean, my godfather Neil Pogue. You know, it was kind of reverse, right? So like when I came up, that was my first access to. Well, you know, my dad is a songwriter as well and stuff like that. But as far as the technical side of it was coming through Neil, right? I was maybe 15, 16. I'd go to the studio and sit in these sessions, he's mixing. So I would try, how do you get that kick to sound like that? How do you get that snare? So it was a reverse. Most people start creating and then they try to make their stuff sound good. But I would always see him from the engineer's perspective get pissed off when people use shitty sounds. So like when you know what I'm saying? And then Paul, Babyface's engineer, was another one. Was like, pick good sounds. So we kind of learned from a reversed.
And actually what you learn is from an older way of learning to a newer way, which gives you the fundamentals, because that's how it used to be coming up. You came in, you know, you had to pass the gatekeepers, even be in the studio. Like you had to show that you could be around creativity, shut up and listen, be a good presence in the studio. Those are skills.
It's etiquette, right? It's a way to...
And then you learn, you ask questions. And so, you got your foundation first and then very smart. And a lesson to you guys.
I got a weird question. What a shock, right? Both of you have parents that could have been what they call stage parents and constantly pushing you. And I had a tiny bit of that. But the pressure that I got from my parents to do certain things as a career was simultaneously helping me and hurting me. Both of you guys have been under that same sort of thing. How did it help you and how did it hurt you and should we be jealous of you or not?
Well, a lot of people were definitely jealous of me going to school. You know, I had a recording studio at the house. My parents were trying to run an independent company out of the house.
You got beat up a lot.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, I can hold my own.
There you go.
But you know what I'm saying? That's a lot of pressure on a young kid.
It's definitely a lot of pressure, but I look at it like this. You know, my grandfather was also in the business, so it always just felt natural. You know, the stage is a playground to me. The studio is one of my favorite places to be. Yeah. And, you know, the second it stopped being fun is the second I don't want to be a part of it anymore.
There you go.
To be completely honest, you know, it's all I know. So
is it like taking piano lessons when you're 12? Nobody wants to take piano lessons when they're 12, but when they're 18, they're glad they did.
Right, exactly.
Is it like that?
Not at all. I mean, you know, for me, being in it so young, I was signed to my first label deal at 13 years old. Wow. You know, so all I know is studios and a pre-hook and you know, composition. So
what about you, Chris?
Good.
Very similar to him, right? Like I had my dad built a studio at our house, and so like I was a guy that like, you know, everybody would come to, you know, and people who are big artists and writers now, right? Like my house was kind of like the hub in LA for like everybody to come and write and make beats and, you know, produce or whatever. But I was that kid that hated piano. And hated, like, I didn't want to learn when the Saints go marching in. You know, I wish I did, because then I'll be playing like this guy on the guitar. But I was more in love with the technical side of it. So I was, you know, trying to learn Logic and Pro Tools and all those things. And I was, you know, kid.
We're all blessed, right?
Yeah.
Well, we all had. Dave's mom was a guitar player. He learned guitar early. I had to sing and choir and play piano and do these bad recitals and bad suits at the gas company.
How come you don't sing anymore? You got a good voice. I've heard you sing.
Well,
nobody was listening.
That day is over. So there were scholarships in the early days and stuff like that. But I think all of those things for us were foundational things that led to where we are now.
Right.
I think opening the door up and going, oh, I love this, or I can impact this, or I'm interested in this. Because I remember my senior year in college, I thought being an engineer was cool. And I would have been the worst engineer in the history, because I have no patience. If I can't mix this in 45 seconds, you know. But I only wanted to be an engineer, and it ties into your point, because I thought it was always cool to be first to have the coolest music. It's like engineers know music before anybody. They actually affect it. So I was in it for the wrong reasons. I just wanted to be first. I didn't want to. So you start this process. You guys have been around about a decade doing your thing, won Grammys before. When you came together, was it based on a signature, a sound? How do the skills combine?
Well, you know, I think it's very interesting how we both met. You know, I actually got signed to Columbia when I was 13, like I said, and they had me in the studio at 16, 17 years old to work with Babyface, which was, you know,
incredible.
Just such a huge inspiration for me. So, you know, I'm kind of nervous. I'm over there. But one thing that really calmed me down was, you know, on the first day there, I saw that there was somebody who was like around my age working on the other side. So I knew he knew what it was to, you know, still be building and you know, building your dreams. So I got a chance to meet
the production side on the Babyface side.
So I Antonio Dixon, who you guys, you know, Tony, that's you know, it's like he's like an uncle, big brother. You know, so he gave me really my first shot. Right? And,
great guy,
awesome guy. Man.
Yes,
I mean he, you know, and you know, even with that, like when we talk about perseverance and stuff. The first time I actually met with Tony, he was like, it's not ready yet. And we had like a little crew, and you know, one of the guys in the crew was like, man, I ain't gonna get embarrassed again. And I was like, man, can I cuss on here?
Yeah,
I was like, fuck that. I was like, we're gonna come back. He said, you know, get your songwriting right, get this right, get that right. We came back maybe 8 months later. He was like, I want to introduce you to somebody. It was Babyface.
Wow.
And he was like, you know, you guys can use, we were working out of a little like hall closet, like literally like the size of like this table, maybe even smaller.
At Brandon's Way?
At Brandon's Way, yeah.
That's all the space, and they put you in a closet.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, we were kids, you know, so we were there, and then, you know, we had a guy we were working with who actually, was it your ex?
Oh, well, no, Jinsu was a rapper,
yeah.
and he had called me over there to do a hook on the song.
Yeah.
So I came back after meeting him, you know, probably like 6 months before that, and I came in, and you know, we were doing the record, and I noticed this guy had all the new sounds. You know what I mean? Every sound. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And I mean, at that time there was no Splice. There was, you know. So I mean, to have all of those sounds was like, you know, he was sitting on gold. So I was like, man, I gotta get to know this dude. You know what I mean? And I saw he was engineering the session, which was, you know, very rare for people our age at this time. You know, we were 17, 18. So next thing I knew, you know, it turned in. I was over there just about every other day. You know, working on music.
So it happened really organically.
Super organically. It couldn't happen any more organically.
What's fascinating about the process, which, you know, I've already maybe made the point, so excuse me for being redundant, is you really had an old school kind of process. Which is, you know, mentored by somebody, kept out until you were ready. Starting very young. Then let in. And then you had to prove it by being around people, learning and growing, giving the tools, meeting people.
It was really that.
Usually people connect on social media and throw some beats together.
You don't appreciate it that way.
That's right.
It's like
you also don't grow.
If you hit the lotto, most people who hit the lotto go broke. That's a fact.
That's true. That's true.
People who accumulate wealth usually stay wealthy, generational wealth, right? On your own. So.
Y'all are way too mature. Because you look like 11.
You know, keep the youth.
That's funny because I met Tony Dixon when he was at your place. Because I was coming up in my career and he just landed here. So we, you know, all that going. And I started out as solo. I was where Babyface started. So I remember Dick Griffey giving me a cassette and saying to me, this is going to be one of the baddest songwriters in history. And it had about 11 of his hits, Whitney hits, probably, I mean, and him demoing it, and I can't find it. I think it's gone.
Oh, man.
But I would listen to songs, and back then, it was like crack. You get to that hook and that melody, that Babyface thing. Was, and back then, he was Kenny. You know what I'm saying? Good for you guys. So what was your early Grammy wins? A couple years ago?
We participated in some production on Love, Marriage, and Divorce for Face and Tony Braxton.
Was that Tony Braxton?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So
and the current Grammy nominations are for what?
Best rap song.
Nice.
Drake and Rick Ross.
Yeah, Gold Roses, and we added some production and writing on
that's a great
music side for Jesse Reyes.
So you went from Tony Braxton to Rick Ross.
You
got those kind of years.
That's pretty much. You know, I mean, I think it was very important for us to stay with the times. I remember probably about 7 years ago, you know, I took a trip out to Atlanta and I was around Young Thug and all these cats, you know, early in the genesis of like that newer trap sound. I remember coming back to Chris and being like, man, we gotta really hop on this, man. I think this could be a real, you know, a real moment. And at the time, Urban really wasn't, you know, controlling the charts like that. So, you know, we had years to kind of hone in and you know, find our our in.
Where do you think it's all going right now?
I think it's very interesting.
We'll get away from 75, 150, or do you think that's going to keep going a little bit? It seems like tempos are picking up.
Yeah, I feel like the tempos are definitely picking up. I think energy is really important right now. Everybody really wants to dance.
I'm noticing sparseness now, space in the mix.
Very simple beats, you know.
One keyboard part.
It's kind of always been like that.
Space is
most hit records.
Have room.
Have a lot of room.
Yeah, the KISS method.
Keep
it simple.
You know.
Well, we always talk about on the show, and I'm curious to see if you guys feel that way as creators. The genius is in being simple.
Right.
It's not in being complex.
Right.
It's how do you become simple and still touch people and still get the point across. With Phineas, you know, I always talk to him when we're not on camera, whenever I do see him a couple times, his ability to have lyrics have the same impact and spatialness and just hit you right in the, like, it's hard to believe he's 21 or you guys are your age, but I think in the way you learn. The other thing that I think is interesting is in these times, and it may be for your generation the first time, generally when there was upheaval politically, artists would speak about it. And I thought there would be more artistry about the politics of our time, no matter what side you're on, speaking about, because there's some real serious stuff going on.
Yeah, there's definitely some real serious stuff happening. You know, about a year and a half ago, I got the pleasure to work with MIA and Meek Mill on a immigration song about the immigration policy, which is really interesting to see that all come together.
Yeah.
And Belly was also on the record as well. It was his single, and I think there's more of that. I think people definitely want to hear it, and especially with rappers, dominating the charts like they are. There's so much room for lyricism to kind of edge in there. We're waiting on this new Kendrick, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you look at somebody like Meek Mill, right? Like What's Free, like that record was crazy, and it was filled with a lot of socio-political,
It seems like the status quo crowd is trying to protect their investment in themselves. It seems like the younger crowd coming up, the 14 to 19, they're getting more involved, it seems.
Oh, most definitely. Social media is very important, and it's just a lot easier to stay aware, and it's really harder to be ignorant, honestly. So I just think
there's the headline for today. It's really harder to be ignorant. So I can prove that wrong.
I'm sure you can.
We'll do that for another episode.
Right. We do that weekly.
Weekly.
But it's an interesting point, because I think for our audience, and for so much of our audience that's your age, I think to your point, it's hard not to be unaware.
Right.
There we go.
But it doesn't always mean you're informed.
Right.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah,
And I think that you have to be selective as you pick through what's going on. I also think sometimes you have to get away from it. You have to shut it down.
There's so much information. There's so much shit happening.
Well, also the technology's so ahead of us. Like, here's a classic one. So I was supposed to bring my Hall of Fame award today so they could get a close-up of it, right? As we talked about it.
Right.
My lady was taking pictures of it, and it's on a granite thing, and it fell over, chipped the glass, right?
Oh, her?
Yeah, so, no, they'll get it replaced. I've already talked to Nam.
Oh, okay.
And so we were like, God, how do you get the glass replaced? She woke up this morning to her phone from ads on glass repair places.
Oh, yeah.
Because your phone listens to you.
Yeah, I got to unplug Alexa in my house sometimes.
Really?
Listens to you.
No, I knew that. But
Yeah.
Not that.
It's immediate.
No, it listens.
Yeah, it listens. And then
My
it
phone
will.
sometimes doesn't like me because it doesn't do that as much as it.
Oh, well, it chooses whether you're going to buy, when to send it to you, if you're an active thing. But so I'm just saying that I'm always an advocate of fighting for keep control of the technology. Don't get controlled by it. And not in a scary way, in the fact that it's just, it can empower you. And your creativity can be informed by this or messed up by this. So now your phone is ringing, you have choices, you have, how do you make your decisions? Is it personal taste, desire? Sometimes it's a check.
I think it's
I
I think it's a mixture, right? I mean, one thing that he was big on, and I'm gonna give him credit on this, is that he's like, we need to hop on this early. We need to hop on this. Man, this kid is bubbling.
Get ahead of it.
We need to. So he's got his ear. He knows, And for me, I had to kind of like shake off the babyface camp.
Got it.
Thing where it's like,
But that's
we
the
want to
charm.
work on.
That's the charm
we
of
want to
what you guys do.
Right. We want to work on things that are already established. Because when you're around those guys, they have the luxury of doing that. But I think it was important for me to kind of understand, like, you don't get to it's better to be a part of the Arianas or the Drakes. Right. So this one's early, because those relationships, that's where it matters.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And they
Because
always look out later on.
These are investments in your future.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can answer this. You were at a certain level, then you came under the influence of Babyface and Antonio, and that took you to the next level. What was that next level? What was taught to you during that next level? And a young kid out there waiting to know this answer to go to the next level. When you came under the tutelage of Tony and Face, what was that you learned that took you to the next level? Can you articulate it?
I think the most important thing was don't wait for anybody. I think that those names carry so much weight. And we weren't the only guys up there. Right. There were a lot of other guys.
You had competition.
There was a lot of competition. Everybody's trying, and still to this day are trying to knock
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron. But I think that it's about like, man, we're not going to chase the Rihanna placements. We're not going to chase the Beyonce placements. And work with this little girl, like, you know, just her, or let's work with, you know, or work on his stuff, or let's work on, you know, become a rapper, or this person, that person, work with these producers that you just can't wait for them to walk a record in, you know, the people that you're signed to walk a record in.
That's right.
Same for you, Leon?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, you know, really seeing how they dealt with business and, you know, really getting in depth with all of the executives as well. You know, those relationships for me as an artist sometimes and an actor, you know, I'm in all of these events, meeting all of these people. Yeah, you know, it's like sometimes hard, but now it's to the point where I really do my best to just make sure I'm dealing with every key, you know, executive I can to make sure that my initiative is dealt with properly.
That's the biggest question Herb and I get is how do I get my material to somebody that can help me? I get that a lot. I'm sure you get it a lot.
Yeah,
I do, but it's changed in the social media era.
Yeah.
And so the thing that happens too much are people are getting things to people, but sometimes those people don't matter and can't necessarily help you.
Exactly.
And so what I see is there's a whole lot of people they're doing administration. I sent it here and I did it there and I'm trying to get these lights and this, that, and the other, but you're not improving your craft.
No.
So if you're not sending the bomb, because I used to tell my staff when I had the management company, there'll be no argument about a hit.
Yeah.
If we're debating something, it may or may not be a hit. If it's a smash, we all go, "Oh man,
what is that?" Yeah,
and to your credit, and again, this is exemplary for our audience. You guys got the fundamentals about how to network, how to improve your creativity, how to find a niche, where to go, how to keep moving your craft, how to come together, have iron sharpen iron. All the stuff was about making your craft better, then putting your craft into the hands or methodologies that got it to the right people and people took care of it. That quickens your pace. So it's immeasurable, right? Yeah. I mean, that's at our age, that's what we do with the show. It's what I do with the show every week.
And I think it's important to make sure that stuff is ready before it's played, right?
100%.
I think like the process that we watch these guys, or, you know, our mentors and stuff go through is like, you know, if the mix ain't right,
don't
you ain't
go
playing it in the music.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Because,
do you see an advantage when you shop something having a rudimentary video attached to it?
Not necessarily.
Right.
you know,
I think I'm answering for you, but not necessarily.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, coming in as an artist, you know, when you have that package together, you know, it's very important, you know, to have some kind of film content
as an artist.
But you know, dealing, you know, as a producer,
kind of happens organically. I don't. Maybe we place out of like all the records we've placed in our career as the Rascals, or even individual. I don't know any that came from just shopping beats.
And
I think a majority of them came
the
from
relationship
and working.
And none should have video because you're limiting the creativity of somebody else. If you put a visual on something and then they don't like the visual but like the song, it can ruin the song.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
You got to leave room for other people to contribute.
Yeah.
So more songwriter, more technical, or both?
Well, what's really interesting, you know, we both produce, you know, so I'm definitely not a tech head, but what I can tell you is that I really know Logic. Logic was in my home at 13 years old, 12 years old. So I've like gotten to the point where I feel like I know some of the cheat codes of Logic.
Gotcha.
We've actually used that to our advantage in the past 3 years. Just having that extra edge. It's also, how did you do that? If that question isn't happening in a session, I feel like we're not doing our job.
Cool. And then on the technical side, what do you work on? Do you work on Logic?
Yeah, we start off in Logic. Okay. The tracks are done in Logic majority of the time. Sometimes, I mean, working with Wanda and Jahan and those guys, like they come in Fruity Loops. So we have Fruity Loops and tweak with it sometimes, but now you can do like the time stretch stuff and all that stuff, like Ableton and Logic now. Yeah. So we start our tracks in Logic, and then what we'll do is we'll take the vocals, and when we cut vocals, we do it in Pro Tools.
Got it.
So we're Logic and Pro Tools.
Do you mix your own stuff?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's your vocal? Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No.
What's your vocal chain go to? What would you record Jacoy on and what I mixed for you?
It was a C800.
Yeah.
To an Avalon.
Vocal. Yeah.
And then just the SSL plugin.
The Avalon pre or the compressor?
Pre, and then the compressor is the
720, 37, 17?
Yeah, I think it's a 7.
I can't remember if it's a 20 or 37.
Yeah.
It's like the airplane, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use a 1965 on my mixes. How much is mobility important? Are you taking your laptop and going places and traveling?
Yeah,
and
we're in Japan, Bali.
Yeah, we set up
You make music on the move.
Yeah. You know, what's
How do you monitor when you're mobile? Is it headphones? Is it?
Well, yeah, headphones, but it's really nice to have like some speakers in the room.
Right,
you know,
yeah,
if we
right,
can, like some tiny ones if we can.
Right.
And a nice little interface. And, you know, we're good to go. We can do it all.
Somebody at NAMM that once I get details worked out, I might have a very special pair of headphones to turn you on to.
Oh, wow.
For mixing.
Super excited.
Yeah,
We definitely.
What about your old pal Dave?
Oh, come on, Dave.
I got you. But I don't think you'd ever mix on headphones. But you would try.
I don't.
Right.
I like my stereo image near the end. I like to listen to that on headphones.
Right.
I don't
But you know,
mix
just
them.
when you're traveling and stuff, having that capacity.
Yeah. Airplanes.
When you write, are you doing keyboard, guitar, what?
Well, you know, guitar is definitely my storytelling instrument.
Okay.
You know, but it really varies, you know, because I definitely play keys as well.
Do you ever get inspired by beats to write?
Yeah,
Of course.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like majority. Is
Yeah,
like
where it starts.
Yeah. And unless like if we're doing something where it's like upbeat, you know, we'll start a beat and then
and then go from there.
Or but if we're like, you know, certain artists like, you know, they're like, oh, I'm emotional and I want to write a ballad, so we pick up the axe and
Sit
start
down
playing.
and therapy.
Are lyrics in your wheelhouse as well too?
Yeah, we do. It's a
you know.
full
Full, yeah. So write a song, produce it.
It feels like lyrics are more important than ever. Like we have a lot of 18-year-olds at the studio that I work at, and they seem to know more lyrics from hip hop songs than any songs than my assistants.
I think that's
You know,
because
rap
rap.
genius.
I think it's because
I mean,
rap.
you
I
got
think that the idea.
In fact, they'll go, "Oh man, this thing's hitting so hard," and I'm like, "That ain't hitting hard." And then they'll go, then they say the words. The words are hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A little MF here, a little dig here. And I'm like, okay, I get that.
Lyrics became important. And the other thing that's fascinating, if you've been around as long as we have, is how many people, because back in the day, you had to take classes to type.
Yeah.
Now everybody can just roll out.
This one comes naturally to the double thumb.
Another super influential, super creative, and super nice guy, friend of the show, was a big influence with you guys, was Boy Wonder.
Yeah.
Talk about that relationship.
Well, I mean, Chris met him first.
Yeah.
You want to talk
Yeah,
about
we met through some mutual friends, and we just hit it off, man. We started talking about like Marvel comics. I'm a big Marvel.
Oh,
comic
good.
fan.
Cool.
And you know, we just started talking about comic books and basketball and this and then.
Yeah.
We just,
You a hoopster?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. So we were talking about Kawhi and stuff. There was ESPN thing was like Game of Zones.
Absolutely.
We were watching that and just cracking up. And then he came out and was like, "Yo, bro, I'm out here. Let's link up." And then we started cooking, and then it was from there. Yeah.
And I mean, it's just real friendship. You know, I mean, that's very important. You're spending 8 hours with somebody, 10 hours.
I think it shows in the outcome of the music.
Yeah.
Like when there's good collaboration, sometimes volatility can create good music.
Yeah.
But when you can groove with somebody, you can feel it. You as an actor, you can see it in film. You can see it in the script.
Chemistry.
You can,
That's why they do chemistry reads,
Having a safety net.
And on the hoop side, you know that Kawhi held a couple of his secret meetings at Drake's house in Hidden Hills.
Was that? I ain't saying nothing about
I don't know nothing.
I don't know.
Which I think is kind of
No, that's
cool.
a trip, man.
So what's next? What's the future?
Just hustling. I'm also working on a new project.
Film and television part of the world coming up. Music and acting. Right?
Music and acting and producing television and film.
Oh, nice.
It's very important. I've been just taking the right meetings to make sure we're like, dealt with properly. But I mean, it's to me now building that bridge from industry to industry, with just the proper help in our partners. So, we've been taking lots of meetings this year. So we'll see what's up.
Cool.
Great.
And your favorite show on the web for Pro Audio is what?
Oh, of course.
Oh, I didn't know. I just was curious. We'll do that in the social media thing. All right. So you're familiar with Batter's Box?
Yeah.
So it's word association. He'll throw something out. You throw something back. There's no right answer. It's just how you feel.
Well, today it's about right answers. I don't want to put any pressure on them.
Well, the key is
But they've had babyface pressure, so they
but as a sports person, let's use baseball as a metaphor. So as pitchers, you want to knock his block off. He's gonna throw something out. I mean, your batters, he's gonna throw something out, and you want to try to wing him as it's a double at least or triple. All right, you ready?
Always remember, at my age, if I don't win, it's a hate crime.
Oh man!
That's okay.
Let's start with Chris.
Chris can sue you back. He can sue you back.
Exactly, man.
I'll tell you what, we'll get him to split the difference. See how quick he turns on you.
Here we go.
All right, man.
Vocals.
Crisp.
Tempo.
Upbeat.
Bass.
Bottom. Ass.
Booty. Okay, speaking of that, kick drums.
Punch.
Ooh.
Damn, they are
They're a team.
Loops.
Necessary.
Necessary.
Virtual synths.
Whew, needed. I love those. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Mixture. That's right to say. Yeah.
Favorite key.
A major, probably.
That's the right answer. Okay. Second is F
I
sharp.
say G. I say
A lot of your stuff is at A, bro.
G is fifth. It goes F sharp. It goes F sharp, A. No, F sharp, E, A, D, then G. So you got close. 808.
Knock.
Knock it.
Yeah.
Guitar.
Amp.
Oh, you can answer it too.
Oh, just for a guitar. Okay. I don't know.
Space.
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 Is that?
No, like, the verb on it.
Well, the verb? Yeah, I don't know. We're failing this. Hey, guitar player. Yeah. Well, warmth for me, honestly.
Warmth, yeah.
Okay. Be inventive now. What's the cheapest piece of gear you used on an important song?
Oh, man.
Probably the 57.
Yeah, the SM57.
The
Yeah,
SM57.
for the song where yeah.
What would you use it on?
Go Roses.
Yeah, Go Roses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got one other to add to that. Live instruments.
Live
good.
instruments.
Oh, there's your answer, Herb.
Yeah. Occasionally.
Yeah, loved. You know, we
incorporate.
we use it on literally
every song.
If you're babyface Tony,
Every
then-
song, pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
every song. Yeah.
Cool.
cool.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Absolutely. Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
I think what's great for our audience is how fully developed you guys are as people.
Yeah.
And don't ever stop that.
Appreciate
Because, one of the things we learned, we're just coming off of being nominated in the Hall of Fame. I've been put in other things, some things that Babyface and LA are in, and so on and so forth. And what you realize is that part of your career is affected by who you are as a human. And if you only got one dimension as a human, sometimes your career only has one dimension.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the more you have to bring to the table, and that never stops. If you stopped at any point in time and think you got there, you can get clipped off. So good to you.
Hey guys, I think for me the relationship between these two guys is special. I'm a little jealous about that because it's a little harder for engineers to do that, but I think that's something to look out for. And then the way that they use their mentors is also something to think about. It's impossible to get to the top without the help of multiple people. So Herb and I were talking about that Saturday night. Check it out. We'll see you next week.
See you.